Please turn to page 180. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through the steps of Stage 4 informative explanatory writing, just like you would do with the children. Now, these are the metacognitive steps that children need to learn in order to write information on their own. The reason why we're starting on page 180 is just to go back and look at the brainstorm chart. Now, we will be jumping from page 179 to 180 back and forth as we do this lesson so that you can see what tools and also charts you need to refer to as you're teaching children this lesson. Let's go ahead and let's get started. On page 180, we had our brainstorm chart. So we had just finished a unit in earth science. The children were telling the teacher all the information they had learned, and through that brainstorm, the teacher was recording the information on the board. Many times when the children were telling the information, they were details, so the teacher was just helping the children sort the details in the right categories, and then eventually they went back, looked at the details, and labeled them with what all those details were about. Hence, the big idea. Once the brainstorming was completed, we had identified that there were basically two paragraphs that we could write about. In other words, the children knew enough information to write about weathering and coastal erosion. After the brainstorm, we will follow the Stage 4 informative explanatory writing steps in order to fill in an organizer. And that organizer will eventually become a paragraph of writing. So let's get started on those steps using this information that was brainstormed in order to fill in our planner, our organizer, following those Stage 4 steps. So up here we have our big idea was weathering. Now let's jump back to page 179. The reason why we're looking at page 179 is these are your at-a-glance one-page steps that you would use as the teacher. Remember, your children would have the steps posted on the wall with the nice chart. So we're looking at, first of all, the first steps that we're going to do are for the topic sentence. Always begin the lesson with the chant, then go and follow the steps to fill in the organizer. So we're going to write a paragraph about weathering. Let's do our chant. Ready, everyone? Topic sentence. That's the big idea of the paragraph. That's what all the information is about. Now we need details, details, details. That's information about the topic sentence. Conclusion. Repeat that topic sentence, but use different words. So we're going to now follow the steps to write what? A topic sentence. So let's go to step 1. And what does step 1 tell us? Get organized. We need to write our secret formula on our page. So on our blank sheet of paper, what sheet of paper is that? Legal size sheets of blank paper you are going to give the children. Now, you will always fold the top part of the legal size paper, and then you will give each child one of these blank sheets of paper to brainstorm on. So we have our step 1, get organized. Now we need our secret formula for our topic sentence. So we go to the top of our page and we're going to write S, light bulb. And as you're doing that, you're always saying to the children to keep them going quickly in the lesson. Look how quickly you're writing that down. Now we're going to go to step 2. We're going to go to the middle S. And we're going to put our hands up like this, like we're looking at a textbook, open it up, and everyone say, subject, who or what is this information about? And on our brainstorm, we know this information is about weathering. Wow, that's a long word. Should we write it letter by letter? No, how embarrassing. We're like college students. We can write it quickly. Let's say chunks of letters so we can write it down quickly. Ready, everybody? W-E-A. Then the kids go, W-E-A. T-H. T-H. E-R. E-R. I-N-G. Weathering. Boys and girls, who or what is this information about? Weathering. Let's act that out. Weathering. Next, we'll go to step 3. Step 3. What's the big idea about weathering? What information did we learn about weathering? What is it all about? Turn to page 180 so that you can look at the brainstorm chart. You're pointing to this chart now as you're trying to look at the big idea. So you're going to say to the children, let's look at our brainstorm. We know we're writing about weathering, but what's the big idea about weathering? What are we telling everybody in our brainstorm here? Let's look at the details because they're always going to tell us what the big idea is about. Let's see. This is about how rocks cause weathering, how water and rain cause weathering, how plants cause weathering, how the water freezes in cracks and rocks. It causes weathering. Oh, so this is about all the different types of weathering. That's what this whole brainstorm was about. Now that we looked at our details, let's ask that question again. What's the big idea about weathering? What information are we telling about weathering? And sometimes it's hard for kids to come up with this, so I always give them two choices. So I will say something like, are we going to talk about how weathering makes you dress? Or is this all about the different kinds of weathering? We're going to be writing about the different kinds of weathering. So we're going to do this. We're going to put different, D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, different kinds. Now let's go back and read it. Ready, everybody? Weathering, different kinds. And this is perfect for the kids to see. That doesn't make sense. We have our information there, but it doesn't sound right when we say it. Let's say it another way. There are different kinds of weathering. Ooh, that sounds better. So now you're showing the children the SS light bulb is the information they need to have in order to tell a big idea, the topic sentence, but you don't have to always read from left to right on this brainstorm. That's critical. So we're going to now go back and say, what was our big idea? About the different kinds of weathering. But it doesn't sound right to say weathering different kinds. That's why we practice saying it. Let's go back and say it again. There are different kinds of weathering. So that's our big idea. Hey, let's add, who cares? Why is that so important? Why is it so important that there's different kinds of weathering? Is it because it's really cool? Or is it because the different kinds of weathering make rocks break into tiny pieces? Oh, that's what we learned about. We learned about on our planet Earth, all these rocks, they kind of break up into little pieces all the time. And what causes that? Weathering. So that's a really big idea. And that's a reason to tell us why it's important that they break rocks into pieces. So let's go over here and draw a quick picture of that and show all these little pieces coming off a rock. So look what we're doing. We're only thinking about the idea. I don't need to make the sentence yet. Now I'm going to go back because I have, who cares? Why is this so important? It's important because on our planet we have rocks and they're breaking into little pieces because of something called weathering. Wow, that's important. We're going to go back and read it. Let's start with the different kinds. Ready, everyone? Go. The different kinds of weathering make rocks break into little pieces. Hold on a minute. We learned in our lessons a word that was really a higher level. Do we want to just say breaks, or do we want to kick it up a notch? What do we want to do? Let's kick it up a notch. Do we want to say breaks the rocks into tiny pieces or disintegrates the rocks? Which one do we want to use? Turn to your buddy and tell them. And without fail, the kids usually say disintegrate. Okay, let's say disintegrate then. Ready, everyone? Different kinds of weathering make rocks disintegrate. Cause rocks to disintegrate. Ooh, let's say cause. Ready? The different kinds of weathering cause rocks to disintegrate. Wow, this sounds good. Let's look at the next step. We have our 1 through 3. Now let's go to step 4. Step 4, setting. Do I need to tell you when and where these different types of weathering make rocks disintegrate? Yes, that's important. So when does this happen? Oh, does this happen just within seconds, or does this happen over time? Over time. Let's draw an arrow there for over time. So we're going to put a little arrow here for over time. Let's go back and read our notes so far. Over time, the different kinds of weathering cause rocks to disintegrate. Wow. I have when this is happening. What else do I need on my setting? I need to tell where. Well, where are these rocks? Are they in outer space or are they on the planet Earth? On the planet Earth. Let's go ahead and put that because that's important too. On our Earth. Let's go back and read our topic sentence. Ready, everyone? Over time, on the planet Earth, the different kinds of weathering make rocks disintegrate. That sounds really good. Turn to your buddy and see if you can say it. Now that I have kids turning to each other, I'm walking around making sure that they have control over the language. We're saying this over and over and over again. Once they have that, then I can go back. Let's add some fancy words. Boys and girls, what is the most important thing in this sentence that we've created that we should describe? Is it just the planet Earth or those rocks on the Earth? What is actually changing in this information? The rocks. Then let's go back over here. Over time on the planet Earth, weathering, the different kinds of weathering, make rocks disintegrate. What about that? How will I describe those rocks? So now I'm going to go, and I know that I'm going to put an X on the rock because I know I want to describe that, and I want to add fancy words. Now I want to look at asking the question, what kind of rocks? Do I want to go in and tell you what they smell like? No. Does it matter what they feel like? No. Does it matter what they sound like? Well, they wouldn't sound like that. Doesn't make sense. Ooh, wait a minute. Does it matter what they look like? Yes. What about what I say, the color or the size? The size. This affects all different types of rocks. They could be boulders, they could be small rocks. So we're talking about all sizes. So let's go now and read our whole sentence. Over time, on the planet Earth, the different kinds of weathering make all the rocks disintegrate. Make all kinds of rocks disintegrate. Ooh, I like that one better. Now that we have our sentence, we've added a fancy word. Let's go back. And do you always have to add a fancy word? No. Only if you think it's necessary. I'm going to go back and we're going to add our capital and we're going to add our period and comma if needed. It's real critical for the topic sentence that you put the punctuation in there at the beginning. All the other sentences, you can do the punctuation when you're finished with the organizer. Go back and add it to them. Go to your sentence now, and what do we have, everybody? Punctuation time. Let's see, how did we start our sentence? Over time. Let's write over. O-V-E-R. What do we do with the O? Capitalize it. Because you always capitalize the beginning of a sentence. Over time, on the planet Earth, what do I need after my setting? Comma. Everybody, go. Comma. The different kinds of weathering cause all sizes of rocks, all kinds of rocks to change, to disintegrate. Wow. Look at all the different ways I said the same thing. And now what do we have? Our period. That's the end of our sentence. So now what do? We go to add our period, and we have our period there. We have our over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all different kinds of rocks disintegrate. That doesn't sound right. Let's say it again. Over time, on the planet Earth, the different kinds of weathering cause all kinds of rocks to disintegrate. Now let's do it again. Over time, on the planet Earth, the different types of weathering make all kinds of rocks disintegrate. So notice when I say it, I can say it differently each time. My oral rehearsal is revising the sentence until I think it sounds good. The kids keep saying to each other, once we think we're okay there, now what are we going to do? We're going to draw a line